Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome. So today I'm really excited. I've got James Ensor from Addingwell here, and a lot of marketeers, especially performance marketeers, are always on the lookout for a silver bullet, and potentially this could be one for cranking up paid performance. So James, welcome. Do you want to just give a 1-minute introduction to you and a little bit about Addingwell? And I'm sure Imran may jump in with a question or two.
That sounds good. Well, thanks for having me, Marcus. So my name's James. I'm the head of sales here at Addingwell, based in London. Our mission effectively is to help brands be able to track and collect more data from their website. So once you've got that consent of that user, it doesn't mean you can necessarily track them. We see that on average, 80% of people click the accept button when they land on your website, but really in reality, you can only track around 20% of those people. So our mission is, how do we take you from that 20% back to that 80%, so you can send more data to your CRM, your paid media campaigns, to your CRM tools, as I just mentioned, and then also your analytics tools as well. So good to be here.
Oh, amazing, James, amazing. So take me through that because Marcus, he's obviously comes from a digital world. He totally understands what you're saying. I've heard three things. First thing, 80% say they accept cookies. I'm maybe the other 20%. I always just say reject all. So that's the first.
Okay, so let's tackle that one. So it really does vary industry by industry. So if you take retail, for example, like e-commerce retail, what we see is it ranges between 75 to 85%. So you land on the website, most users just click accept and allow and go through.
Okay.
In some instances, that consent pop-up doesn't even load because it gets blocked by the browsers. So what we effectively help to do is make sure that consent pop-up appears every time, but also that then the journey that happens after that, so the restrictions, that gap that I've just been talking about. So if you're using an ad blocker is designed to stop you from being able to track and send any data to your third parties from your website. So if you are running any performance media campaigns, so it's for Meta, for example, you won't be able to send any data to those platforms. The other restrictions we see is with first-party cookies. So don't want to go too technical, but a first-party cookie is what your website gives to you as a user on that website. If you're using Safari, for example, they have really strict tracking rules, which mean the lifetime of that cookie per se is only 24 hours to 7 days. That means if you're buying a product, but maybe it takes you a week or two to make that decision as a consumer, you can't correctly see what channels happen to make that purchase. So did you click a Facebook campaign today? You came back 2 weeks later, just went straight to the website, purchased the product. As a brand, you have no visibility about the first action because that cookie didn't survive long enough to know exactly what the user has done.
Wow. So therefore, as a retailer, if I'm on Safari, for example, and I want to attribute first click to say Google or a particular campaign, it's not going to know it because it wouldn't have allowed it if it's older than 7 days.
Exactly, or even 24 hours in some instances. So yeah, we're speaking to a watch retailer, jewelry retailer at the moment, and nobody goes and buys an Omega or Rolex watch in 24 hours. Maybe there are some people out there.
Marcus has got one in each hand, but that's another story.
But yeah, in that example, if the buying cycle is 3 months, then what happens is you might go from your mobile device to check on your web browser, your laptop. You might go in store. Obviously, all of the in-store stuff we can't track because it's offline. But let's say you do 10 visits to the website over a period of 6 months. When the consumer makes the purchase, it will be last click attribution because they won't have the visibility to see everything that's happened before that. So our mission is, how do we overcome that? Because it goes from a world where you actually don't have much of a view about what your users are doing before they make that purchase, to then having that full visibility as to what actually happens.
And I don't want to get too technical because I don't understand it, but from a brand point of view, attribution is like the holy grail, right? So,
Totally.
and it is from a digital marketing point of view. So Marcus will want it from a reporting and fine tuning and all those good stuff that they would come to us. But for me, I always want to know what is the strongest flow. So is it the first one? Let's take watches, right? Watches. You have an advert on a YouTube channel that's doing best tennis games, right? Best. Then they've clicked on that, and that's 1 month ago. Then they're in the flow, and that could be a strong flow. So you can now tell me the strongest path to success that could then therefore optimize my advertising is by using your software.
Exactly
Have you
right.
solved the attribution problem?
Exactly right. That is exactly the problem that we solve with Safari. So Safari, we changed that restriction I just spoke about from 24 hours to 7 days. We have a way that allows, it conforms with the Safari rules. So it makes sure that the cookie life is up to a maximum of 13 months in line with GDPR, the legislation rules effectively, so that if you do have that journey that you've just described, that you can see exactly what is happening and where, and what steps has that user taken before they click the pay now button.
Wow. Okay, I'm saying wow because I know the difference it could make for me as a company.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mark is saying wow because suddenly his performance is going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I think it's easier, therefore, because that's the other thing is get digital agencies and they'll be telling me this, telling me that, and I'll just catch them out. Hang on a second, sales are £1,000, but you're attributing Google 700 and Facebook 700. Well, someone owes me 400 quid then, and I'll be like, that doesn't really make sense. So if you've solved that, which it's not if you have solved that, that's incredible. And is it the tech? Well, again, is it server-side tech or is it software that you've created?
So that's a really good question because there's a huge misconception in the market.
Thank you, James. Can I just say that's the first person in 3 podcasts we've done that actually said that I've made a good question. So I think finally someone's acknowledged that I'm not just eye candy for this show.
Yeah, maybe you are more technical than you think. You're underplaying. So yeah, it is a really good question because there's a huge misconception out there, and unfortunately, it's just because people think server side solves all of these problems. It doesn't. You can go to server side and it will solve part of the problem, but the issue is every consumer has a different way of working. They have a different browser. They use different plugins on their browser. There are different restrictions. It's a melting pot of problems that you need to navigate. So moving to server side, yes, it will improve website speed performance because you can shift third-party tags as they're known. So every partner that you work with, you shift them off the website to the server. So that does help there. But the real benefit is for Addingwell is that we're able to bypass ad blockers. So we can give that option for the user to click OK. Yeah, we'll agree to share data with you. But once they've clicked accept, that it actually can collect. And from our perspective, we normally see that acceptance of the cookie policy normally means I'm happy for you to track and collect data about me, even if I am using a browser or some tech to stop that. And then the second time we just spoke about the Safari piece, these are the benefits that we bring on top is you have that ad blocker bypass, plus then you can extend the first party cookie awareness. So it's 13 months. What it means in practice is if you could send at least 5% more data or track 5% more data from your website and send that to your entire tech stack that you're paying millions of pounds for on an annual basis, what will that mean for your business?
Yes.
And that's the problem that we effectively solve. We can help any brand track more data from their website by navigating these challenges, while at the same time being able to have a faster website, more visibility of what data is going to which platform and how is it going there. So you effectively unlock all of these challenges in one go.
Marcus, I'm going to hand over to you because I've got loads of other amazing questions for you, James, but I don't want to hog at this. I'm going to let Marcus just have a few moments while I just get a bit. It's amazing, honestly. For me,
I only think Imran. I sift through a lot of crap bits of tech, and the ones that really excite me, I'll bring on. Right?
Well, no, seriously, Marcus, well done. No, because to be fair to him, I know we joke and laugh at these podcasts, but we've done 3 now, and every single one of them, I've come out of here just thinking, wow. Yes, it's great talking to people. Me and Marcus both share that same thing. It's like a hobby for us, but it's learning about the future, and the problems that we're having, each one of us, that are hindering, or not hindering, but we need to become more efficient. So, holding the bottom line. So, no, well done, Marcus. I'll say that publicly.
Oh, you're too
Cool,
kind.
thank you.
Right. So let me jump in from a performance marketing agency perspective, because Addingwell is originally a French company. You grew, I think you got 1,800 clients, predominantly in France, off the back of agency partnerships. The performance marketing agencies in France obviously loved you guys. Talk to me as a performance marketing agency founder, because obviously we're, cards on the table, we're looking to roll you out to our clients. We're starting that process. But I'd love to know some stats about which agencies are right, which ones maybe not. Like, I understand it's better. Meta and Google predominantly are the best ones. Like, I know Amazon paid or TikTok paid might not be as, tell me where you guys really shine. Give me some stats. Like, I'd love to just know about where your sweet spot is. And I think the way that I understand that you work is a sort of 30-day trial. So basically plug it in. If it works, you see an uplift, use us. If it doesn't, bin us off. Is that correct? And give me some case studies around it.
Yeah, of course. So there's a few points to cover off there. So the sweet spot for us when it comes to agencies, and you're right, our growth in France has been phenomenal, and it's purely down to the success we've had with partners. But for us, it's like a reassurance that the market trusts the product. So if somebody else is willing to recommend your product and they've used it and they have multiple figure numbers of clients per agency using it, you're kind of going in the right direction. So for us, it's data agencies, performance marketing, analytics, even web agencies we work with as well, because everybody has a different problem to solve, and each agency is trying to tackle. So performance, how do we get a better return on advertising spend, profit on advertising spend? How do we improve the quality score on Meta? How do we improve the signals on Google Ads? Web agencies, how do we increase the performance of the website? Analytics agencies, we don't trust the data, we need to improve it. So in a lot of cases, we tend to work with multiple agencies on one client at the same time. And that works really well because everybody is a specialist at what they do. But ultimately, we sit across as almost like a layer across all of those agencies to help them. So we have a great white paper. It's available on our website. So a cheeky little plug with Maison du Monde, which is a French retailer. They have shifted their mindset from return on advertising spend to profit on advertising spend. So how do you look at the bottom line rather than you look in the platform and see the 10x figure of the ROAS or whatever it is? So we're now working with them to insert what we call offline data, which is in-store purchase, margin data of the product. So they can do real-time bidding, and actually rather than focus on how well is this performance marketing campaign performing, it's actually let's look at the bottom line, because the CFO is saying you're spending all this cash, but actually we're not seeing an increase in margin. We're just burning a lot of cash here. So it's how do we get that 2 or 3, 4% increase on the bottom line on the margin from doing intelligent real-time bidding with all of these different advertising platforms. And a little bit of a small correction on what you said. We're, to be honest, every advertising platform we work with. So for those that don't know that, so at Awin, which is an affiliate platform, in April, they're forcing their clients to use server-side tracking. If you don't, there's a 15% penalty fee to the bill. So we're actually there to solve across all the advertising platforms how we help improve that, essentially, like move that transition to server-side.
I thought Imran was going to jump in with the talk of the bottom line, so I'm going to let him do that.
Well, so if you were pitching to me, which you could be very soon, is there a ratio that you say, look, by installing this, you're currently getting a ROAS of 4, and let's just say Digimaze is my digital agency, and let's just say they're super efficient at what they do, which, like Fountain and Digimaze, we are. Okay, so what type of improvements do you see? Do you see like a 20% increase in your ROAS, a 30%, 10%, 5%? Yeah, basically,
Yeah, so you guys will be doing a great job, but if we can give you more data, you can do an even better job.
Correct.
So that's what we effectively do. But yeah, so we have a client, Decathlon Travel. So it's the travel part of Decathlon, the sports retailer. They saw a 50% increase on ROAS. They did a public case study for us to confirm that. And
James, I'm gonna have to hold you to account. I'm gonna have to do my Jeremy Paxman now. You can't use your best case to use that as a case. So I know there's best case studies. What would be an average? Or I'll hold you to that, and you can come. And if we don't get a 50%, we're going to do another podcast, which I'll invite you on, and you can explain to me why you didn't get it. Okay?
Yeah, okay, that's a deal. Let's rephrase that. So our average benchmark that we see is anywhere between like 20 to 22%. So
That's incredible. That's still in times like these where ROAS is hard to improve on. We get micro improvements every day. We're trying to do different things. And it does make sense because there's a lot of black holes. So we have to assume a lot of things, So by taking that out, we've got better data, which means better responses, which obviously means more efficient. If I can increase my ROAS by 20, is about 20 to 25%. I know you're going to get really good cases and you're also going to get, but let's just take that. I'm going to have to do the numbers and I'm going to come back to you.
But I'll give you a good example. As we spoke to a leather bag retailer a few months ago, and they said, we don't know what lever to pull on which marketing campaign because we don't have a full view as to what's happening. So that for me is translated into we're spending money, but we don't know what we're getting back for it, which for me is unbelievable, to be honest. And that's what we're effectively doing. We are giving that visibility. And at the same time, the way that all of the advertising platforms work is that more data is better, more insights about a specific person is better. So going back to the problem that we solve, if you imagine you take a puzzle out of the cupboard from years ago, there might be a few missing pieces or quite a bit missing from it if it's not been put away properly, because it does happen. Imagine that is your marketing strategy. You're trying to figure it out, but you don't have all the pieces. And what we effectively do is give the pieces the full picture, so you have the whole puzzle from day one. So you can figure out how to send more data effectively to these platforms, and they get the full view of the audience. They know exactly what me as James, how I interact with the website. Okay, the propensity to buy for that platform's algorithm to work out is James is likely to buy at 6 p.m. on a Thursday, so we'll target him then. So because we can give this extra data from the website, in terms of collection from the website, in Google Analytics, overnight you normally see anywhere between a 10 to 30% uplift in the amount of data that's collected from the website. Imagine that all going to all those platforms. That's what we do. And that's how the platforms become better at their targeting, because they have more data to play with, which means that algorithms perform better.
And what marketing platforms are you currently working with? So Google, Meta, TikTok?
So yeah, we work with pretty much most advertising platforms out there. So we're in this fortunate world, which, not to get too much into the product, but our product is effectively server-side Google Tag Manager. That's technology Google has built. 80% plus of websites out there are using Google Tag Manager. Yep. We've effectively made it really easy for brands to not need any tech resources, to basically switch to server-side in a couple of clicks. And because it's a Google product underneath the hood, we're just a layer on top of it. It means there's a library of what we call tags, how you connect to the different platforms that are built by us, by Google, by the vendors, by other competitors of ours, which all work with our platform. So we're in this really cool position where most clients that come to us, they can just plug in their whole tech stack, advertising stack out of the box, because all of the integrations tech-wise exist today.
So I will definitely speak to you about Strike, our reporting optimization software. And that's what Marcus is. He's a genius at putting things together, this man. He's like Columbo. He doesn't look like he's on the ball, but he just comes up every day delivering, right? I will next week, we'll get together with the founders because I'm very excited about this. Yeah. And I can see why Marcus is rolling you guys out to his client base.
Yeah, and you guys have had an exciting time, James. You recently had a big acquisition and investment of 92 million to scale, so it's doing well.
Yeah, Addingwell was acquired by a French consent management tool called Didomi, but as part of that, there was a fundraise done by Marlin Equity Partners, big US fund that invests into a lot of early stage scale up startups. 72 million euros went in to basically acquire Addingwell, and then as part of the future expansion as well. So it's really exciting times, because the idea with that acquisition is data and privacy is a hot topic. It's really important. Legislation all over the world is changing, and we want to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go and, we're getting very excited here, but we need to talk about the business case. So how do you charge, and what sort of returns? Because we're talking about ROAS, which is fine. But if there's a massive cost that wipes out the uplift in profit, then it becomes pointless, obviously. So talk to us about pricing, how it works, what sort of ROI you get.
Yeah, of course. So as you said, we can do a free trial to just plug and play and give it a go and see how it works. After that, then we have a self-service option where you can add your credit card in. It starts at £90 per month as the minimum, and then scales based upon the volume. We also have annual contracts, so that starts at 2.5k per year. So I would say we're kind of the lower end of the scale compared to what you'll see for a lot of the CRM tools and paid media campaign budgets. Normally the platform pays for itself within days. We've had clients who have seen like 30% plus revenue attribution uplift through Meta, and they say, okay, well, we paid for this overnight, basically. So yeah, clients see the return straight away. Everything we've talked about today is instant impact. So if you plugged in Addingwell today into your website, and tomorrow, or let's say 2 days later, you looked at Google Analytics, you'll see a spike in the number of users, the number of events that you're collecting, and it really varies. We had a client last week or 2 weeks ago, a Shopify store, because we have a plugin. They overnight doubled the amount of users that they could track. So it really, really varies. But normally brands see that return on investment quickly. But we also say it's not just about our pricing to see the return. It's about all of your tech stack, because we're enabling your paid marketing platforms to perform better. If we can give more data to your CRM to activate, if your analytics team have better insights into what products people are viewing, same for merchandising, etc. It's a whole host of things, really.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a stupid question now. Okay. And this is Marcus going to laugh, because this is more his side of it. In terms of, I understand that Facebook, the more Facebook or Meta or Google, you give them money to, the more they learn about what's right and what's doing. Yeah? But then they are going to have a black hole. So does your software also feed the info back into them for them to learn, for them to automate better dynamic advertising?
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not going to go too technical again. It's probably the third time I've said this now. But all of these platforms, all of the advertising platforms have a conversion API. So it's Meta-Cappy. Google has Google Enhanced Conversions. TikTok have the Events API. LinkedIn, Reddit, etc. They exist today because of the problems that exist on browsers when it comes to collecting data. Mm-hmm. So, for example, it's only Google Chrome now that allows what we call third-party cookies. Every other browser doesn't allow that. So the question is, for all of those other browsers, how do you get data to them? And that's what those conversion APIs are for. So I've had several conversations where clients say, yeah, we need to do this, but the tech team aren't ready. With Addingwell, you don't need any tech people to do that integration. It's just a click and go from Google Tag Manager. But going back to your question, what that means is immediately you can send more data to those platforms. And you're right, more data to those platforms helps feed them with better insights. They have anonymous IDs about their audience, people that visit your website. Yeah. So they can be way more intelligent in terms of their targeting as well.
Okay. And let's just say 1,000 people come to my site, right? What's your accuracy rate? What's your recording rate? So let's just say currently my jigsaw, I've got 1,000-piece jigsaw of the lovely countryside, the Peak District, in fact. But but at the moment, a third of it was missing historically. I now have got your software. What does my jigsaw look like now? Is it 1,000 pieces, or am I still missing? I've gone from a third off to now a quarter off. We'll see.
Yeah, we'd probably take you to around 95%. So that's
95% attribution accuracy.
Yeah, because there are still some challenges out there that prevent.
No, I'm
tracking,
saying that in admiration, not as in disgust. By the way, that's brilliant.
Yeah, but I think for the listeners, it's important to know that the challenges that we're solving make up the predominant issues that websites have today with tracking. And from those, it can get us most of the way there. So you plug a huge gap, and you won't be able to get everybody. Of course, you can't. It's difficult to get 100%, but we get the majority of the way there, the 95% of the way there.
Okay. And then my final question is, and again, it's an ignorant question, yeah. So forgive me on this. So iPhones, I've got iPhones here and everything. They're the ones historically that people said, you can't track iPhones because they've not cookie enabled. But you've solved that as well. Well, you could clearly have. You would.
Yeah. So for web browsers, all of the tracking we're talking about today is on web browsers. So if you're using Safari on your iPhone there, so Safari have something called Safari. It's called Safari ITP. It's their intelligence tracking protection. And what they do is they restrict how long your cookie life is. So that cookie we were talking about a little bit earlier on, they restrict that to 24 hours to 7 days, that piece there. But
okay, so it's just via web browser. No, I apologize. Yeah, no. Okay, that's so. James, I didn't want to get too technical. I feel it's gone very technical on this. Tell me for your company, what does the next 12 months look like? What does success look like?
Yeah, for success. So we're seeing a lot of demand for server side because the acquisition affiliate platforms are starting to force their clients to switch to server side. We're on a really heavy growth spree at the moment. So the company is scaled 90% in terms of revenue, over the last 12 to 18 months. So we're growing very fast. We're building out a team in the UK. So I'm here as the sole person on the ground at the moment, but we're looking for a partnership manager to help spend more time with partners, because that's where we see the joint success together. And my mission, although we're headquartered out of France, my mission is to, not in 12 months because it's not realistic, but is to outgrow the French market. So to go beyond what they're doing there today. I like a little bit of competition.
Have a bit of ambition, James. Have a bit of ambition. Eh?
Come on. We'll get there, but we'll get there. But we've got a little bit more time to beat them.
Yeah,
I love it. Absolutely love it, mate. That's good. Cool. So if people want to get in touch and trial it, how does it work? They reach out to you, Addingwell, and say, I want the 30-day free trial, and let's just see. It either gets an uplift or it doesn't. If it gets an uplift, great. If not, we'll bin it off. The only other friction, I imagine, or blocker would just be the tech stuff. Is there a lot of technical know-how? It sounds like it's a plug and play, a little bit of techie stuff. How long does it take? If I'm trying to pitch it to a client.
Yeah, of course. So recommendation is go to our website. You can book a call with somebody. Always have a conversation with somebody first, because we'll go through your website and look at exactly what the challenges are. So even if you're an agency, you want to get in touch, we'll support you as much as possible. We can help set up that free trial. And then from a tech point of view, it is light touch, but when you say the term server side, people kind of panic and run off and think, oh my God, I need to go and ask the IT team. You do need to ask them for one thing, which is we have to create a subdomain, which is metrics.domain.com. That for us, that's enough to get started. So that's the first foot on the ground. And then it means you're already working server side. And then as a third step, we can figure out the ad blocker bypass and the first party cookie piece, the cherry on the cake, so to speak. But we have clients that go live in less than a day with everything. It is quick. The longest time is normally asking the IT team to create that subdomain, to be honest.
Take a ticket. Yeah. Finally, who are your ICP? I'm guessing it's retailers of a certain size, but obviously applicable for everybody, of course. But who do you think you can have the most impact on the quickest?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, anybody that's doing any paid marketing. So I would say you're right. E-commerce or transactional websites are the sweet spot, because you'll be investing in paid marketing platforms. You'll be investing in a CRM tool to drive activation of your existing audience. For us, that's the best, because the pain is to solve the attribution and the tracking problem and to see the return from the marketing efforts. So any CMO, any digital director that is looking to solve those problems is a great place for us to start with.
Brilliant. Mate, well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We're bang on 30 minutes. So I'm going to call time. Really appreciate it. And hope you all found this interesting and most of all useful.
Well, thank you for having me. This was great to be involved. And yeah, pleasure to meet you, Imran and Marcus.
Yeah,
Cheers,
likewise. I'll see you in London next week, James, hopefully.
Hey, happy days.
There we go. Cool. Thanks very much, guys.